Welcome to the channel. Before we begin, I just wanted to state that I understand that my video recording and editing skills are not the greatest. So if you get lost anywhere in my tutorial, use that as a chance to experiment and create something unique and different than what I'm creating. So I wish you all the best. Thanks for joining me. Enjoy the video. Alright, welcome back to the channel. So before we get started, this is part 4 of this little series on this piece. If you haven't seen the first parts, I will link part 1, part 2, and part 3 in the description so you can catch up to where we are right now. So let's begin. Okay, so the next step here is I'm going to take these two legs and I'm going to allow them to gradually expand and do a box weave. So a box weave is very simple. I'm going to start at the bottom and I'm going to do a coil 3 times around, so it gives it, a little bit of length, but not too much to where it's going to look out of place. You want to start with something really small. So 3 or 4, and we're going to slide it all the way down. Don't make this mistake right here. Bam! Love that. That's the fun part. So yeah, we're gonna slide it down like that all the way to the bottom, and we're gonna handle that little kink that we just made using our fingertips, or you can use nylon pliers, using your fingertips to press it in every direction till it straightens itself out a little bit. So now I'm going to take that weaving wire and I'm going to go behind and over the top of that top wire, and I'm going to wrap it around twice, nice and tight. Alright, and then I'm going to go under the bottom wire and over the top, like so. Like so. So over the top, and do that 2 times. And then we're going to repeat this process over and over again. But the trick is you want to keep that space. You want to keep that gradual expansion of those wires right there. So you want to keep that shape all the way throughout the weave. So when you're pulling these wires, you want to bend the wire gently over it, but once you do that cross, that first initial cross, you don't want to pull it too tight, just ever so slightly, so that the wire sits nice and firm on the opposite end. So here's a close-up. That's the starting pattern. So here's a little trick tip. So the wires are, as you do this pattern, it's going to bring those 2 wires together. So just, space them out just a little bit. As you continue the pattern, it's going to pull them closer again and again. And, giving it that little bit of headspace or a little bit of wiggle room will allow you to keep that pattern, or like the width that you'd like, consistent throughout this weave. So this isn't as wide as I'd liked it, but it was good enough. I really liked it. But that's how that final pattern should look. And what we're going to do is we're going to do the same thing to the opposite side. You can cut off the excess, and I'll show you what I do next. Alright, so now that we got both sides evened out, looking real clean, looking real good, we're gonna flip it over to the back, and we're gonna take the posts that we have on the inside, and we're gonna have them meet in the middle, going up the back of our pendant. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna tie those 2 together. Alright, so you could just simply tie these 2 together any way you'd like. I did the same kind of box weave, I just didn't give it that expansion. I just wanted to do something real quick and simple. See, it's just real quick, one small little weave pattern right there until I figure out what to do with the rest, or the excess wire. So now we're gonna focus on the next set of wires. We're just gonna keep doing little patterns to add a little more texture and flavor to the wrap. So this next pattern is really easy, starting with the wire over the top and going under and over the wire. I'm gonna wrap it about 8 times, 8 or 9 times, and then the wire going underneath both this set of wires right here. I'm gonna go around under and over 3 times. And look at how I'm using my fingers to press the wire once I go over. And then I pull apart the 2 wires. So it gives it that little bit of space for that wire to go back in between later on. So I go under and over 3 times, press. Use the pliers to press. Get it nice and clean. And continue to do that pattern until you've reached the top of the pendant where the wires can meet, and everything will just flow very nicely, very clean, as we like to say over here. And then we're going to do the same thing to the other side. Once that's finished, I want to extend my bail. So I want to utilize all the wire that's there. So I'm going to take my half round wire and wrap it till the very end of the shortest wire, just so I can utilize all the material that I'm using for the bail. So now that my bail is nice and long, I'm going to take these 2 wires on the inside from the patterns that we just made, and I'm going to tie them together behind the bail. So I wrapped it maybe 3 or 4 times, and then, you know, that was enough. So I just wanted to tie them together, and then we're going to slide that piece all the way down so it's nice and tight. We're right in the epicenter of where it needs to be held down. So the wires that we just tied together, I pulled them forward, so now they're going to come down the front. But first we're going to add some coils to it just to give it some more texture. And I only gave it a small coil, maybe about a centimeter, so that it runs down, giving another layer, and I slid it through the side in between our latest pattern and the braid. And now I'm going to tuck it behind itself, and that'll be the end of that wire. So clip off the excess and just tuck it in the back. Okay, so I took one of the wires that was in the back and I'm pulling it through the last piece that we just made, and what I'm going to do with that piece is I'm going to do another coil and wrap the entire thing in a coil, and it's going to meet the other wires in the back, and it's just going to be another decorative piece. So at this point I'm just trying to finish where the wires end. So I pulled another one of the wires from the back, and I'm going to pull it over the top and tuck it, or have it go through the braid and the Clapton coil that we made, and I'm going to tuck it behind and finish off that wire. Now all you have to do is do the same thing to the opposite side, and we should now be at this point. Now that is looking pretty damn good. I'm very, very happy with the way this piece is coming out. If you're just watching to watch, I appreciate it. If you're trying to make this piece, I wish you the best of luck with this tutorial. You know, I'm doing my best to show you guys how I did it. And I'd like to thank y'all for taking the time. So here's some close-ups. You know, I'm trying to show you guys as best as I can with what I did, even though after the fact I was getting really excited as I was making this piece. So I'll show you guys the next steps in another video. Thanks for watching. Peace.